everyone, and welcome to today's digital marketing workshop on how you can increase your local search visibility to reach more local customers. My name is Steve, and I'm really excited to be your host today. I'll be here working behind the scenes to help out with any questions you may have throughout the webinar. But first, in case you're not as familiar with Surefire and who we are, we're located in Northern Virginia, and our all-in-one platform allows local businesses and you to guide your digital marketing investments from a single dashboard that provides actionable insights so they can generate more business and stop wasting money online. Our mission here is simple: to help educate you on a number of topics to help you succeed with digital marketing. We want to know who you are too, so if you can, please let us know where you're joining us from today. And you can do that by using the chat box in the control panel that you should see on the right side of your screen. And a few quick reminders before I pass things over to our star speaker. You'll get the recording of this chat in an email, and please feel free to ask any and all questions and make comments using the chat box. And then because you are on today's webinar with us right now, one lucky attendee will have a chance to win a Google Home Hub. We'll be giving that away at the end of today's talk. So stay tuned, you might just be the lucky winner. And we have Bob Sheehan here with us to talk about actions you can take to increase your local reach and get found by more qualified prospects. Bob is the Senior Vice President of Customer Services at Surefire Local and has a lot of experience in local and digital marketing. And with that, I'd like to pass things over to Bob.
Thank you, Steve, and good morning, everybody. And thank you very much for coming to the webinar. I look forward to spending about a half hour, maybe a little bit longer than that with you. And we're going to go through a number of different things that you can do and kind of ways that you can improve your local search visibility. The whole idea would be, how can you manage your online presence? How can you handle your kind of situation out there in a way that will get you more customers? So with that, I'll just kind of go slide by slide here. Feel free to, at any time, if you feel like asking a question, if you could just put it in the question box. Steve will flag me and we can stop and talk about anything we need to. So we start off with this idea of, are you digital ready, right? This whole concept of what's going on out there and is your online presence ready for it? Many people that we talk to think about this in terms of, I have a website and that's my digital and I do these things on the website and those things help me. That's how I get leads. That's how I get customers, that kind of thing. The way that that's changed is this, right? And if you think about this in the last 4 or 5 years, this is a very new concept. But where it is right now is that 73% of the engagement with your brand, the kind of the way customers come to you, the way that you engage with people, the way they come into your sales funnel, 73% of that happens somewhere else besides your website. So the idea that you build a website and you're done and that's all you got to worry about, it's kind of changed. It's not that way anymore. Search is changing, and ever since we did this, we built this company back 10 years ago, and ever since we've been doing this, it's been changing all along. We're at a new place now, and we're going to a new place in the next little bit, right? So if you look at kind of the evolution of this, it used to be, one kind of search page where, you had an advertising on the top, you had, Google ads at the top, then you had maps, then you had organic results. And when we first started this, it was mostly organic. There were very few people doing advertising. Now almost everybody's doing advertising. We've got a lot of Facebook and Amazon as part of this whole customer journey. Google has just introduced this thing called Google Local Ads, where now if you look at the top across the bottom screen there, you can see that there's search results around local kind of service providers that all go through a vetting process with Google, and those folks end up, being at the head of the class, right? They end up being at the top of the screen. And so there's many more options now, many more ways that customers have to manage what's going on online. So in order to be ranked in all of that stuff, in order to be visible and showing up in all of those places, we think about this as a structured data problem. right? If you're a small business and you're trying to be present in all of these places, the 73% of the places that aren't your website, and you want to be in all of those places, you've got to think about structured data. You've got to find ways to manage all of your data across everything, and it becomes, a scalability problem, right? And what we're finding now is with Google, Google, Amazon, and smart display and everything else that's going on, it's all headed towards voice search. Everything now, in a matter literally of months, more than half of searches are expected to be on voice, right? We see now customers hold their cell phone to their face and say, hey Google, I want to look up a certain thing, or and all of that is the way that people interact with the search engine. And because of that, that's changed the way that we need to be managing, and we need to be helping people to manage their digital footprint. All of that adds up to this idea of structured data. When you scale this across all the directory listings, when you syndicate content across a bunch of different places, then you can be more competitive in voice search, which really is the next step, the next kind of place this is going. So what we've done, and what we see other people in the space doing, is this whole idea of bringing things together. So we want to find ways to scale across directory listings. We want to find ways to have kind of one password that accesses a lot of different places, because then it becomes manageable. We want to keep data safe. We want to be leveraging social media across a lot of different places. And so we've got a platform that we'll show in the middle of all of this. You'll see us kind of interact in and out of the platform and show you how that kind of platform approach, that idea of bringing everything in one place and putting it all on the same set of data structures, if you will, that is a key component to how you get more visible. We also think about this idea of cooks, right? And if you've got a small business and you're trying to do a lot of different things, it's difficult when you got a lot of people doing pieces of that. It's difficult to make it all sing together, right? If you've got a social media person doing things differently than your, say, your local SEO person, or you've got a paid marketing person that's over there on a whole other platform, and you really can't see how that's impacted by the things that you do organically, or you've got reviews somewhere else, it gets very difficult to manage. So what we try to do is to make this all in one place, right? Put it all together in a place that will make it all work together. So it looks like this. We're about to relaunch a new look at this, and the whole idea is you've got a command center. You need some kind of command center, whether it be this one or one that you find somewhere else. You need a command center to run this whole thing, so that you can understand what's happening organically, understand how your PPC is working, understand what your directory listings are doing, how you're managing your reputation, and have access to impacting things like reviews and content, right? And how you're kind of scaling all of that. So we put this together so that it can be done, right? What we've seen since we started this is 3, 4, 5 years ago we started doing this, and having customers come on this platform and put it all together in one place. What we find is that there's value in having all of this in one place, right? That when you put it all in one place and people engage with these things, right? We always thought about this as the idea of there's a bunch of things that you need to do, and if you do those things, if you find a way to kind of manage all of that, you get a result. And so when that happens, and we have a lot of people that kind of become users of this platform, and they use that as the way to manage this digital footprint. And when that happens, they get increased views on search. They get more actions in the form of phone calls and requests for directions, visits to a website, more reviews. The whole idea would be to see all of that stuff grow, and it becomes a virtuous cycle, right? Virtuous cycle. When you get more leads, then you become kind of a candidate for more leads than that. It just keeps growing over time. So I'm just going to, my mouse is a little bit sluggish here today. So local search signals is what we're trying to do when we put all this stuff together in one platform, right? So we've got the original 4 pillars of this were recency, proximity, relevance, and prominence. What that means is that if you do things on a regular basis to your digital footprint, if you send proximity signals to your digital footprint, right? If you find ways to tell the search engines and you tell the directory listings where you are in relation to who might be looking for things that you're selling online, that's an important signal. If you publish content that's relevant to the visitor that you want, so in other words, if you're looking for a customer who is in a certain market, how the content that you publish to your social media and your directory listings and your website matters to bringing in the right customer. And then there's this whole idea of prominence, where you have a lot of different ways for people to find you, and the more ways that we create people to find you, right, the better off you are, the more visible you are. And that whole combination of recency, proximity, relevance, and prominence become the way that we try to manage this thing, right? Because what you find is that when you look at it all in one place, it's just too big to think about one at a time, right? You've got 75 directories that you need to think about. You've got 5 or 6 social media elements that you might want to be managing, right? And once you get into that and you're trying to kind of pull all of these levers all at once, it becomes very difficult. So putting it all together gives you that leverage against that, local digital footprint that helps you to get results. In the last little bit, there's been this 5th category here called availability. And when you look at what's going on Google My Business, for instance, you'll see that it used to be that you just go there and here's the list of all the people. Well, now what happens is here's the list of all of the people who do a certain thing in your market, right, in your local market. And depending on what time of day it is, you'll see a different look, because the people are only open certain hours, and they want to make sure that they're going to direct the traffic, the search engines and the directory listings and all these places. They end up directing the traffic to the places that are open, so the person who's looking at that point in time can get satisfaction against the question that they're asking. So it becomes important to manage that availability piece, and we've actually put that in as a 5th criteria here that we're trying to think about as we kind of help people to manage this digital footprint across everything. So recency, proximity, relevance, prominence, and now availability. Search results, you can see, are based on that. There's a bunch of different things that you'll notice here, but you can look at ratings, right? You can see here when you're on Google Maps, you can search for only certain customers, right? Only the customers that have ratings over 4, for instance, or only those customers that are open 24 hours, or only those customers that are open right now. All of those things are available to a customer who might be looking for your product. So it becomes important to be able to manage that across any place that somebody might be looking for you, so that those roads then lead back to you and turn into leads and business and all of that. So this is the whole idea behind putting it all in one place and finding ways to manage it. The whole thing I'm talking about, right? This whole idea of digital footprints and everything. I'm talking about taking control of your digital presence, right? You being in a place where you can manage what's out there, so that you're not surprised when you go to one of these places and see something that you didn't put there, or that you didn't have an idea of what was going on, or that you weren't in control of it. And when you're in control of it, you now get into this structured data place that makes it not only visible on the internet in devices and search, but makes you more eligible to be part of this whole voice search method that's becoming the next big thing. So we talk about Google My Business, right? That is the biggest directory out there. It's the most important directory if you want your digital footprint to rank locally and to bring you local traffic. So that has to be done. This whole idea of NAP data management, name, address, and phone number. And we provide a way in the platform to be leveraging that across everything that you're doing. That becomes part of the directory listings management. There's also a lot of tie-in between directory listings and relevant content, making sure that the directory listings are set up with the right categories and the right content in there, so that those things will show up for the people that you'd like to speak to, rather than categories that aren't really looking for you. There's lots of geo signals out there, and there's lots of ways that we tell people where you physically are, and those things become methods for all of these directory listings and all of these Google My Business profiles to tie it all together with a visitor. So if somebody's in your neighborhood looking for you, looking for things that you sell, we want to make sure that you show up there and not somewhere where you're not, right? That there's a market area that gets set up in all of this, and sending the right geo signals becomes important in making sure that you show up where you're supposed to. And then we certainly know, we think about posts and links and content on a local website. That's been around forever, right? That's always been part of what we do, and there's just more layers now. There's just more ways that we have to manage that in order for it all to be tied together on the internet and get you what you need. So there's 9 things here that we try to make possible, right? We want to make sure that if somebody is able to manage these things, is able to kind of reach into these things and make sure that they're correct and that they pay attention to them, that they'll get a result, right? These are the things that matter the most. So NAP accuracy is certainly, if your name, address, and phone number is wrong in half the places that a customer might find you, that's not a good thing, and you want to make sure that doesn't happen, so that they end up, you end up getting ranked as well as you can. Photos, we see that the use of photography on the internet and the tie-in of photography to directories definitely helps those directories show up more. We see very large movements of traffic in Google My Business, for instance, when folks publish photography of their work in GMB. That's something that we want to tie together between the directory listings, the profiles, and the platform, so that it makes it easy to do and that you can kind of leverage that into a lot of different places. We're going to talk a little bit about local schema, but there's a code. There's actually like a set of signals that we can send from a website. It looks like code, and actually it is code, and we're telling people, we're using that stuff to flag the right kind of content for Google and put you in the right place. We optimize for voice. That's for sure. Everything we're thinking about now is the next level, right? We're already in the right place. If we're doing all of these things correctly, we're already in the right place for what's happening locally on devices. And now the next thing is voice. So we use things like check-ins and reviews and sending geo signals and publishing content in order to kind of take you to that next level and have you be ready for the next thing that's going to happen on the internet. Right. So name, address, phone number, that's certainly the starting point for all of this. We want to make sure that you can have it consistent across everything, and that there's a location piece to that as well. Right. We have a way to measure all of this, and you'll notice that we have Google My Business separate from everything else. And that's just simply because of the importance of GMB. If you're managing listings, Google My Business is by far the number one thing that we have to worry about. And you can see over on that 5th or the 4th column from the left, photo views. You can see what happened. You got 3,000 photo views. That's an actual example of how GMB directs traffic to photos, so that when we find a way inside a platform like this to take photos, when we've created a gallery, and you can then take those photos and syndicate them across all your directories, you can see there's an awful lot of leverage that you get from doing that. And that ends up being additional traffic, additional leads. And so that's kind of one of the next things that's on the horizon here. This is something that can become difficult, and we try to simplify it. But the claiming and controlling online profiles, we used to have to do this one at a time. I can remember 10 years ago when we were doing this, we literally had to go out and find them and claim them one at a time, handle the verification process. We've now got a way to do that. We do 75 of them at a time, and that's really important because now you can kind of have one name, address, and phone number record that then syndicates across everything, and it's all on one platform. That all helps you get more visible in Google. This is an example of what a NAP record would look like. So when you look here, and this is just one of our clients, and you have the ability to go in here and manage phone numbers and addresses and different categories, and if you look up in the right, there's other ways that you can go in here and kind of add data to that record. And what happens is you take the base NAP record and you attach all this other data to it and grow that footprint to a place where you can then leverage all of that data across everything. And that ends up being the thing that lifts you across this network of directories. So in this case, we've got 76, I believe is the number in here, plus GMB, and then there's some social sites at the bottom. And if you're doing this right, then you can do things in one place and have it rip across everything. And by doing that correctly and having it consistent across everything, you get leverage against having a result in those places. Sharing photos across directories is a really important component of this. We've been focused on building this out. It's a difficult thing if you're trying to just figure out, okay, how do I get photos across social media and in Google and all these places. And so what we've created is a gallery. You can now build this gallery inside the platform and then use those photos wherever you want. So you can go in there and pick them, find them in different categories. Some of them are going to be, pictures of homes, pictures of roofs, pictures of, siding, pictures of, whatever business you're in, and have that, easy to do. So you don't have to go looking for them and you don't have to decide which ones are good. You kind of build the gallery once, and then you can leverage that across everything else that's out there. Structured data, when you're building a website, and we think about this every time we stand up a website for anybody, there are places in there where we use code to be able to tell Google what are the important places on the site. So that would be things like services, right? The different services get flagged as being important. The location data, this whole idea of a geo signal, this is a geo signal, right? Where you're now telling Google, this is where I do business. This is the category I'm in. This is the business I'm in, and here's how to reach me, right? Name, address, phone number, and then the idea that that's tied to everything else then puts a very kind of reliable pin in the map that Google will then use as the way to serve you up in the local market. So we think about structured data in a bunch of different ways. There's review data. You can see this one in the middle is the schema that gets put on these websites about reviews. And then we have local business schema, postal address on the left. And then there's all kinds of different schema that can be put on. But basically what we're trying to do is to tie little balloons to pieces of the content on these websites and have Google understand what kind of content that is so that they don't have to kind of figure it out, right? They'll end up serving that content where it needs to be served. Reviews is a really important piece. If you've been following this or if you've been listening to any of our webinars, you'll know that reviews has become basically the currency of online presence. And what I mean by that is if your reviews, if you have a lot of reviews and they're 4 and 5 stars, that's a really good thing. And customers see that, you get better engagement. And because you get better engagement, Google measures all of that on your website and on the things that are attached to your website. And that becomes a reason to bring more traffic to you, right? And the converse is true. If your reviews are not good, and if you don't have many of them, that tends not to be good in terms of, how much traffic you're going to bring and how visible you're going to be. So if you're a small business and you're trying to figure out how to get more visible, this is a really accessible way to do that. And what we try to do is to provide ways that people can do that on the platform so that then you can say, okay, I don't want to do this every time I do a job. I'd like to I like to scale that activity. You can see there's a button up here for a request from multiple people. I can literally request 50 reviews at the same time and have those reviews land on my social media or land on my website and kind of scale that activity so I don't have to, every day wake up and figure out what I'm going to do with reviews. We get into a workflow here, right? And we provide that scalability inside a platform like this so that you can take a little bit of effort and turn it into a lot of result. So there's a lot of different places inside here that make that happen. I would tell you that if you're sitting there going, okay, I have a few reviews, I'm not really that great there, that's probably the thing that you can do the most that's going to bring you increased online visibility and increases in lead flow from your online presence. So not all review sites are created equal. We focus on the ones that matter the most, trusted sources, high domain authority, Google, Facebook for sure. And then the other piece is your own website. You can do Google My Business reviews. People go to GMB and they will type in a review, and you can answer them within there. And then so what we've got is a connection between GMB and the platform, so that you can then do all of that in one place. At the same time, you can do that on Facebook. You can do it on any of the other reviews. And then you'll see also we have this concept of first-party reviews, which are the reviews that end up on your website. So the way Google talks about this is they want to create reviews everywhere. It's okay to create reviews off the website. People say to me all the time, do I need all my reviews to be on Google? The fact is no, because what will happen is Google then goes and finds them, and then they bring them back onto the GMB record, and customers will see them there. So the problem, if you're a small business and you're trying to do this, is you just want to get reviews that are easy for people to fill out. And so we provide that kind of scalability inside the platform that makes it easy to reach out to a lot of people and give them a couple of important places where they can go to generate a review that will do you some good. Optimizing for voice is a really important component. It's a really important kind of swing thought to be thinking about right now. We're not far from where Google tells us they expect the next milestone to be 50% of search happening on voice. That's 2020, right? Which is literally a couple of months around the corner. So what we're trying to do is to structure content, to structure data, to build things with natural language, to not have this kind of keyword approach to what we're putting on pages, to have it be conversational, to have it be real. And the more we do that, and the more we provide that structured approach to what's going on out there in the footprint, the more ready we'll be. And we already see customers who are taking this approach that are now showing up. If you go to and I've done this, I went to an airport in Houston, and I literally asked my phone, who's the number one replacement window company in Houston? And I was given the result of our client in Houston, one of our clients in Houston. So we know that works. We definitely see it happening. And what you're going to see is that this whole voice search piece is just going to become more and more prominent. Devices are going to be more set up for voice. You can see these little microphones that Google's putting on phones and on desktops, and it's going to be easy to talk to the internet, right? And once you get to that place where everybody's used to talking to the internet, what we're going to find is that all of this search is going to be there. So what that means is that you want to end up being the number one choice now. Being one of the top 10 is not really the answer, right? You want to be number one locally for the thing that someone's looking for, and the best way to do that is to manage this whole data footprint better. So we know that people are more comfortable with the convenience of talking, right? We see that once people figure out how to do this, this is how they do it, right? I have friends in the business who I see them all the time. I'll be walking with them and they just pull out the phone and start talking to it. Once you know how to do it, it becomes very easy, and you start to be used to the kinds of results that you're going to get from that, and then how to turn that into action. So this is gonna be the next big deal, and we want to make sure that everybody that works with us gets there as well. So how do you get found on Google search? It's all the things that we've been talking about for the last, half an hour or so. Claiming and optimizing GMB is by far number one. Making sure that GMB represents you correctly with the correct categories, the locations, that the data is the same as it is everywhere else. Getting good reviews in lots of different places. That's really important. Making sure that you have the right kind of reviews, that they talk about you well, and that you respond to them. Making sure that that's accessible to you. Make sure the website tells your story. People are asking questions, and that it answers those questions, right? The more you're thinking like that, the better off you're going to be. Directory listings have to be accurate. They have to be accessible, scalable. You don't want to be hunting for, directory listings 35 through 43 this afternoon and trying to claim them and get able to put content in them. It's a lot of work. So doing them in a scalable way on a platform is definitely a lot easier and definitely helps you. And then being active in social media, being active locally in social media is a really important way to think about this, right? Facebook, Twitter, you can do that in a local way that gets you more visible there. And so we try to provide that through the platform so that people can do that. Traditional search used to be about providing lots of answers, right? Trying to be all things to all people. I can remember having conversations with people about, how many keywords should I have on one page, and how many times should I mention one keyword? It's really not like that anymore. You want to provide the one best answer to the question that is going to bring somebody to you. And there might be a lot of one best answers depending on what categories we're talking about and what kinds of things people are going to be asking. But in a lot of different questions, if you're the one best answer in your local market, and that you've got the right signals set up to establish you in that local market, then you're going to be the result that's given back in voice search. So we think about search intent. We think about what are people looking for? Why are they asking these questions? And how do we turn those questions into answers that will result in somebody reaching out to us? This whole idea of ranking, it really isn't about ranking anymore. I used to be third, and now I'm second, and then it really isn't about that. It's about aggregate visibility. There's a lot of search going on out there. It's many, many times what it was 5 or 10 years ago. And so what we're trying to do is to be visible across the aggregate on keywords, right? People are asking for keywords, and we just need to be, kind of handling them as questions, and making sure that the content that we're providing back to those questions is the most useful content that people will then come to you, right? There's this whole idea of local check-ins. I don't know if you've ever heard this. We've done webinars on this, but it's called GeoJuice. And there is the possibility or the capability within the platform of sending these location signals by checking in at job locations. And those can then be shared across social media and across directories. So that's a nice way that you can then scale the activity that's inside your company with a lot of different people that are out there looking at jobs and talking to customers, and turn that into location signals that will then provide you with prominence in your local market. That's an important component of this whole thing. And then we always give the advice to people about prominence, right? Be involved in your neighborhood. We see this a lot. This is not new to the business, and we don't really have to talk people into this. Most people understand this, that there is value in being members of the chamber, or being in the local news, or if you want to sponsor a little league team. I mean, that's a great way to be visible in your market, and to show up locally on social media, and have people understand that you're a member of the community. Those are the kinds of things that help people find you on the internet. And those are the kinds of things that in your local market, that's kind of your piece. You guys need to be doing that at the same time as we're helping you with some of the things that are going on the platform. So creating content, just a couple of questions, right? A couple of kind of swing thoughts as you're creating content on the platform or on the websites or on social media. Um, I always think about what are they trying to find? What customers, what are they asking, right? And if you're thinking about what are the answers to those common questions, then you'll be creating content that is likely to be prominent in your local market. Think about multiple formats. Folks say to me, should I publish photos about this thing that I'm trying to promote? Yes. Should I publish a blog? Yes. Social media? Yes. All different ways that you publish the same thing. Videos, because people consume information in a lot of different ways, and it's not just about one thing anymore. So we like to have people doing lots of different things about the pieces of their business that customers are asking about, that will then bring people back as leads and traffic and customers, right? So here's just a few examples. Signs it's time for replacement, right? How do you know when your roof is ready to be replaced, or how do you know when it's time to fix your windows? Things about your company. What's going on in your company? Did you hire some new people? Have you added a crew? Have you hired a general manager? Have you hired a great person who answers the phone and handles your customers in an excellent way? All of those things help, right? And make you more prominent and more kind of more accessible within your community. And then this whole idea of home maintenance tips. I mean, we've been doing that for years. But people are looking for that kind of content. People, they want to know what's going on out there. So all of these things become ways in which we can have that conversation with people. And again, inside the platform, this whole platform approach gives you leverage against creating content. If you've got a lot of different places to put content, it's easy to kind of create it once and then syndicate it in a lot of different places. And that's what we want to do, so that we don't have people that want to put something in 5 different places have to do that work 5 times. We try to leverage it across a lot of different places inside the platform. And this is basically what it looks like. So, whatever you're thinking about doing in terms of online, what should I do and how often? Frequency is important, right? And put new things up on a regular basis. Be consistent. Don't put a lot of things up in 2 days and then never come back to it in 98 days, and every 100 days you end up with some stuff on the internet. The best idea is to do it a little at a time over a long period of time, and having that kind of consistent approach to what you're publishing on the internet and how you're interacting with customers on the internet it's kind of a signal that will help you get more business and more interaction. So that's the overall view of things. I hope this has been helpful. We're going to be here for a little while longer. I know Stephen wants to talk about this a little bit, and then if you've got questions after Stephen, I'll be here for a little while longer.
All right. Thank you, Bob. That was a really insightful and informative presentation. Before we jump to the Google Home Hub winner, like Bob mentioned, I did want to offer everyone the opportunity to continue the conversation, to get on a call with Surefire and get a complimentary analysis of your online presence and marketing, which is a great chance for kind of you to measure and see how you're performing in local search, learn a few recommendations, and just take today's conversation to the next level. We just launched a poll, so if you can please take a moment, let us know if you're interested in selecting one of those days that you see there. If you say yes, we'll have someone be in touch after the event, either through a phone call or email. We'll hold that up for just one moment. Okay. So now on to today's winner. The lucky recipient of the Google Home Hub is Kelly McDermott. Congrats, Kelly. If you can, please email marketing@surefirelocal.com with your full mailing address, and we'll ship that right out to you. That email is on our slide right now, so you can write it down. And huge thanks to Bob and all of you for taking the time out of your busy day to spend some time with us. We hope you learned something new and look forward to seeing you on future webinars. If you can, please take a moment to fill out the survey at the end and let us know how we did today, and if you have any topics that you would like to learn more about in the future. We use this when we plan our webinar schedule, and hearing from you is always great. So thank you again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.